Numbers 25 records one of the final tragic failures of the wilderness generation. Right before Israel enters the promised land, the people are camped in Shittim, on the border of Moab and Midian, on the edge of the Jordan River, almost home. Yet in this moment of transition, they are enticed into devastating sin. The women of Moab befriend the Israelite men and invite them not just to eat with them, but to participate in the sacrifices of their god, Baal Peor. The people eat, they bow down, they attach themselves to Baal, and in doing so they break their covenant with the Lord. This is not just a cultural exchange, it is spiritual adultery. The people who have walked with the cloud, eaten manna, and seen the Red Sea now trade their holiness for a foreign altar. God's anger flares. He tells Moses to gather the leaders of the people, publicly execute them before the Lord, and hang their bodies in the camp, so that the people see the cost of their rebellion. Even as this is carried out, a plague begins to strike Israel. And by the end of the chapter, we are told that 24,000 Israelites die. The judgment is mass, sudden, and visible. The people are not being punished for a one-time mistake. They are being disciplined for organized, open idolatry that is dragging the whole camp down. The scene is one of chaos, grief, and horror. The people are weeping at the entrance of the tent of meeting. The plague is raging, and the leaders are being executed. In the middle of this crisis, Zimri, a leader from the tribe of Simeon, brings a Midianite woman named Cosbi into the camp, into his own tent, right before the eyes of Moses and the people. It is a brazen, public act of defiance against the commands of God and the trembling camp of Israel. At this breaking point, Phinehas, the son of Eleazar and grandson of Aaron, rises up. He takes a spear, follows the couple into the tent, and pierces both of them through the body with one thrust. The plague stops. God's wrath is turned back. The chapter then reveals that this is not a random act of violence, but an act of zeal for God's holiness. God declares that Phinehas, by being as jealous for the Lord as God himself is, has turned his anger away and prevented the destruction of Israel. As a result, God makes a covenant with Phinehas. He promises him a covenant of peace and an everlasting priesthood through his line. The man who stops the plague with a spear is the one who receives the most enduring covenant of priestly continuity. What this means for you today. Numbers 25 is a warning about the danger of compromise at the edge of the promise. Israel is almost home, but they are not any less vulnerable to temptation. The same God who has faithfully led them through the wilderness will not allow them to enter the land carrying the idolatry of Moab. The chapter is a sober picture of how sexual and spiritual idolatry easily travel together. The women offer food, fertility, excitement, and freedom from the boring rules of God, and the people eagerly embrace it. For you, that means the closer you get to the blessing, the more subtle the temptation becomes. The world will not always come at you with obvious wickedness. It will come with a friendly face, a feast, a promise of pleasure and peace, only to pull you away from the Lord. This chapter also shows that zeal for God can be a life-saving force. Phinehas does not stand around wishing things were different. He acts decisively in the name of holiness. God honors that zeal. For you, this is a reminder that there is a place for righteous anger against sin, especially when it is being flaunted in the presence of the people of God. The New Testament calls you to gentleness, but it also remembers that Jesus drove out the money changers with a whip. Zeal for purity is not a minor virtue. It is a covenant-securing one. Finally, Numbers 25 ends with a sober command. God tells Moses to make war with the Midianites because they intentionally led Israel into idolatry. The nations that entice God's people into sin will not be left unpunished. For you, that means God takes spiritual seduction seriously. Anyone who lures you away from Him will answer to Him. The chapter leaves you standing between the edge of the land and the grave of 24,000, wondering, where in your life were you flirting with the women of Moab? And where is God calling you to Phineas-like zeal for His holiness?